I'd end up throwing them up and picking them back up out of my throw up and eating them.
I was spending anywhere from $135 to $180 a day in Dilaudid.
I had a drug overdose when I was 15.
Then I got caught stealing from Walmart.
I ended up dropping out of school my sophomore year.
I was swallowing upwards of 30 Lortabs a day.
I had to have my stomach pumped at night, and I spent 9 days in Children's Hospital.
I was in juvenile for 22 days.
I completely blacked out one day and woke up, and I was so sore internally.
I woke up feeling terrible. I threw up all over myself in the middle of the night at some stranger's house.
And I was so sick I couldn't move for 4 days.
The only solution at this moment would be for me just to die.
I am Mobile Police Chief James Barber. Everyone at the Mobile Police Department is committed to keeping you safe and treating you with respect. Many young people, and even some adults, find it hard to understand there are people who will harm you to get what they want. They pretend to be your friends, but they really want to steal from you, hurt you, get you involved in their crimes, or hook you on drugs. Some of the worst of these are people who try to get you to try heroin or illegal pain pills. Just one fix of heroin or illegal opiate pain pills can end your life. 95% of the intravenous heroin addicts die from heroin use. Dirty needles used to inject heroin can carry hepatitis and HIV or AIDS. If you are pregnant while using heroin, your baby may be born addicted. Heroin and illegal opiate pain pills don't replace other illegal drugs. 96% of the heroin users also use at least one other drug. Mobile Police Department officers want to protect you from heroin. Part of protecting you is equipping you with the facts. Heroin and some pain pills are opiates, a class of drugs produced from poppies or made synthetically. Heroin is so dangerous and addictive, it is against the law to have any of it. Using opiate pain pills without the supervision of a physician is also dangerous. It is illegal to have any of them without a current prescription. This is heroin ready to be injected. This is heroin ready to snort or smoke. These are opiate pain pills. Opiate pain pills such as Loratab, Vicodin, Demerol, Roxycontin, and Oxycontin are so addictive they require a doctor's prescription. When their prescriptions run out, they steal them, buy them on the street, or turn to heroin. The feeling these drugs can create the first time you use them is addictive. Addicts want it again and again, but it's never as good as the first time. When heroin is pure, or mostly pure, and you can't tell its purity by looking at it, the natural instinct to breathe can be interrupted and users suffocate. Coached by so-called friends, a young man injected heroin into a vein and died while they looked on. They were too high to call 911. Between 2011 and 2013, only 2 years, heroin-related overdose deaths nearly doubled. It is only getting worse. The mother of a young man prescribed painkillers for kidney stones said he continued to take them after his kidney stones were gone. One morning she checked on him in his bed. He had stopped breathing.
Joshua, wake up! Wake up! Oh my God.
Opiate painkillers are in every Mobile neighborhood. Abuse of them leads to heroin use because heroin is cheaper. Heroin and other opiates become the first and eventually the only thing users think about. They walk away from their family and friends, live in cars or under bridges, steal from their families, commit grand larceny and prostitution. One young woman said she was with an average of 7 men a night to support her heroin use. Addicts can change from a healthy, active life to a desperate, sick addict, covered with needle tracks in a few months. These sores can lead to staph infection or gangrene, which can result in amputation. They say they are so miserable, they hope the next fix kills them. Desperate feelings, fear, panic, delusions, vomiting, and a racing heart rate are common. Addicts and withdrawals say they feel like they are dying and wish they would. Heroin and opiate pain pill addicts frequently end up in hospital emergency rooms. Some die there. Dr. Costello, an emergency physician, has treated them.
And so what does that overdose do physically that causes death?
The medications, typically in high doses, will decrease the stimulation of the brain to breathe. The patient will slow their breathing down to the point where they quit breathing entirely. Most of those patients then will essentially suffocate. It's like holding their breath. They don't know to breathe. I think the important takeaway is that if you're taking an opiate pain medication and it is not prescribed to you, and you're not under the supervision of a physician, or you're doing it for any other reason besides treating an acute painful condition, that it's abuse, and it's dangerous, and it's illegal.
This former opiate and heroin addict now works at a drug rehabilitation center helping others with their addiction. He told me that addicts are not ready for recovery until they hope the next fix will kill them.
I started off at Lortabs, and I went from Lortabs to Roxycontin to Oxycontin, and then Oxycontin began to get a little bit harder to find. They started doing some things. They changed the way they made it. They changed the way that you had to use it or abuse it. And so I was introduced into Dilaudid. The thing about Dilaudid was you didn't snort Dilaudid, you didn't swallow Dilaudid. You absolutely had to IV inject Dilaudid if you wanted to get high. And one day when I was really sick, I called a guy and said, man, I'm sick, I need something. And that was all he had. And I literally hung up the phone and said, I'm not doing that. And through 45 minutes of severe withdrawals and circumstances, really, I was sitting beside my wife. I was on a couch beside her and did not want her to realize how sick I was. I called him back and said, I don't care. Let's take this plunge. It's whatever, make me feel better. And so I met him outside, and for the first time in my life, I rolled up my sleeve, put a belt around my arm, stuck my arm out, turned my head, and he stuck a needle in my arm and shot me up with Dilaudid. And it was maybe 2 more times that I do Oxycontin after that, and then I was off to the races for Dilaudid. And my Dilaudid career, if you will, lasted probably about 2 years, maybe a little bit longer, maybe 2.5 years. And then it was probably the last 6 months of my IV drug use when I turned to the heroin, and it was just absolutely out of control. I pawned my guns because I knew I was going to blow my brain out. It was one gun, actually, it was a shotgun. I said, I better get this out of the house or I'm going to kill myself. And there were certain times when I could remember being absolutely as miserable as any human being could be. And then at the same time going through withdrawals from the addiction and driving straight to the dope man, sick as I could ever imagine, getting the dope, sticking it in my arm, and immediately having relief from the withdrawals, but having zero relief from the misery. I was absolutely so desperate to feel normal, not get high, but just feel normal, not be sick. And I knew that that was my easiest means to that particular solution. I was willing to trial and error until I got it right or it killed me. I remember laying in bed at night and feeling like I was training for a boxing match because I would punch this guy just trying to get the pain out of my body. I would kick my feet at the bottom of my bed trying to get the electricity out of my body. The back of your neck, or the back of my neck, was extremely hot always. I would wake up in just pools of sweat, maybe 2 to 3 times a night. If I didn't have whatever dope I needed, I would have to change shirts.
This young man was also an opiate pain pill and heroin addict. Now he works with addicts in recovery.
I reached the point in my using where I did not care if the next shot killed me or not. It'd be awesome if I got high. It'd also be awesome if I didn't wake up from this and have to do it all over again. Either way, I'll take it. Every time I decided what I'm gonna do is get clean, I'm just gonna stop this and get my act together, I couldn't live up to that decision for more than 4 to 5 hours at a time. It sounded like a great idea for a minute, And then reality would kick in and it was on to the next hit. So I found myself homeless. My parents basically changed the locks to their house. They sold my car, they cut off my cell phone, and they told me, you know, sorry, we love you, but we've done all we can do. I went to treatment 7 different times. They paid for all of it. They told me, if you need a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, don't knock on our door for it. I don't know where you're gonna get it, but it won't be us. We love you, but we're no longer gonna do this for you. Impossible to sleep, definitely not sleeping for days. I think the longest I ever went, literally with no more than 10 minutes of consecutive sleep, was 9 days. So I'm stealing and I'm lying and I'm manipulating people now, and I don't like to live with that. When I come down off of the drugs, now I'm confronted with the feelings of guilt and shame and remorse because of the things I'm doing to my family and loved ones. And that's unacceptable, so I'm gonna have to stay high.
Dr. Bernard Eichold is Mobile County Health Department's health officer. He knows the dangers of heroin and opiate pain pills. He is sounding the alarm about its growing use by people of all ages.
As the community has been more aware of prescription narcotics being available on the street, there's been a tightening down by legal authorities on pills. So individuals are seeking heroin as an alternative. Heroin's a very serious problem in Mobile. We're not seeing as many deaths or use of heroin as they are in Jefferson County, but it is an extremely dangerous product that can cause death. Death from the first use of heroin can be very high depending on the purity of the product. No one knows how pure the heroin is, so if you take pure heroin, the first injection, it could cause respiratory arrest and death.
Heroin and other opiates are a danger to every one of us, regardless of gender, race, faith, age, where we live, go to school, or work. Law enforcement is with you. Mobile police, sheriff's deputies, district attorney personnel, and judges are working together to stop dealers. Drug dealers are receiving prison terms as long as 20 years. The Drug Education Council provides drug counseling and education for young people and adults. Call them at 251-478-7855. Call 251-208-7211 to report heroin and opiate pain pill dealers. You don't have to identify yourself. If you see someone suffering from a drug overdose, call 911. All of us at the Mobile Police Department want to make Mobile the safest city in America with respect for everyone. A wave of heroin and illegal opiate pain pills is killing Americans.
Time of death is 10:10.